Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Voltron, Legendary Defender, Starburst, The Force of Evil, and Ruby. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Justin Cummings.
Hello.
And Jeff Anderson.
Howdy, howdy.
Today, Justin, Jeff, and I will be discussing episodes, continuing our Voltron Legendary Defender Season 2 coverage. Today, discussing episodes 11 and 12, the last two episodes before the finale, Stayin' Alive and Best Laid Plans. We'll get into everything from these two episodes. We have not seen the finale yet, so we'll make predictions too at the end. The finale being the last episode, even though Best Laid Plans is kind of part one. But no spoilers for the finale, just 12 and all episodes 12 and before. And you can check out all of our season 2 coverage up until this point at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes, your favorite podcatcher. So let's just take this 11 then 12 this time, I think. So no need to give 12 reactions yet. Let's just focus on 11 for now, because I think 12 will lead in well to our finale speculation and such. So Justin, what are your thoughts on episode 11, Stayin' Alive?
I binged 9 through 12 in a row, and I'm having a hard time separating
11,
them. 11 was good. My thing is, I felt it bled a little bit too much right into 12.
11 did definitely bleed into 12. So 11, the most prominent thing would be our fight with the Roe Beast from season 1 in space, and a lot of stuff surrounding that, and kind of ended with this existential stuff with like the let's look back on what all we've done. So
okay,
far.
11 ended with like the group looking up at the sky and Hunk being like, I want a calzone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where we are. It was good. I liked seeing the callback with the Roe Beast. I liked the fight. I love the Balmorans. Like, that's my favorite planet we've been to. So I really enjoyed that, callback, seeing them again, seeing that it wasn't just like a one-off thing, that like we are truly building this alliance and we're building this universe together. And I kind of like that, because not enough shows like this go back to the places they've been to. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Definitely get into our Shay reappearance. Yay.
I love Shay so much.
Shay's great. Yeah. Asked for Hunk. It's real.
I love Shay.
Hunk wasn't there, though. Jeff, thoughts on Stayin' Alive?
Absolutely gorgeous fight scene in space. I just love the choreography and the explosions. Very well done. Very well done artistically. I don't know about, as far as, I wish I would have known more about... why do I have this random monster just come back from the dead with superpowers and sort of deal with it? Wasn't a fan of the Alura, being discouraged side plot thing. I don't know. And some great science in the writing of this episode.
Ooh, interesting. Some great science. I think that's Jeff's highest praise that he can give out. Yeah. I think that Stayin' Alive would be on my short list for most beautifully animated episodes of television ever. I think that it's probably the best looking episode of this show. And this show is the best looking animated show ever, maybe outside of Korra, but this is probably even an advancement at this point. And, just so many, this episode, I mean, this episode doesn't have a narrative to fit the, amount of work that went into everything production-wise for it. Its narrative is fine. I think Mei Chen's script for this episode is okay. She didn't have a lot to work with, but, the highlight is, the giant fights in space, the incredible shots at the end of them. There's one shot from the back with a lens flare. There's close-ups to all their faces. Incredible backgrounds of the Balmarin planet, of space and all of the colors going around. It's I can't overstate how incredibly good looking this episode was, and for that reason alone, I do think it's one of the best of the season. I don't think the narrative is there, but I also don't think it's been there all season. So this is a particularly notable one for me.
It reminds me a lot of the fight scene with Korra in season 3 finale with Zahir, just the way they're zooming around in the air.
Yeah.
Just the technical awesomeness.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if we learned that Joaquin storyboarded some of that stuff this episode. He did all of the Korra Zahir stuff at the end of of book 3, and now he's the co-showrunner of this. So it's definitely a good comparison. So let's get into I think like I guess we could either start with like all of the like planned stuff that's happening. I guess let's start with this Robeast fight. So I would not have expected a random like fish thing from last season from Balmera to come back to life, and for that to be one of the biggest fights this season. It seems like an interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the reason is because Zarkon's not really in a send out Robeast mood, so we kind of have to bring back the other one. I will say one of my big takeaways was when this thing came out and we started fighting it, I was like, wow, I didn't know how much I missed the Robeast. This is way better than anything we've been doing recently. Why aren't we just fighting cool things instead of having like angsty plot stuff with resistance? Looking back, I like much prefer the fighting the random cool things in season 1, I think, to a lot of stuff we've been doing here, and this was like a nice season 1 callback episode for me.
When I first saw the Robeast wake up, it had been a while since I'd seen this thing, and I was like, wait, didn't it have like a head or something? I can't remember. And then they did mention like, yeah, it doesn't have a head. Oh, okay, I wasn't misremembering.
Yeah, I did. I didn't have a fish head originally, and it must have gotten cut off. I guess. Yeah. So the thing kind of like merged. I guess the thing merged with the crystals on Balmera to like make it weird crystallized. But weird
interaction with the techno sorcery going on.
It seems very weird that they did not destroy this thing before.
Yeah.
I guess I understand not wanting to like shoot up the Balmera in a live planet. So I guess that's why you just leave it in the crystals. But you could have broken it off, flew it into space, and blew it up like they did now. I feel like that's the way to go. Justin, what are your thoughts on bringing a Robeast back here? Did this make you miss the Robeast? Did you particularly like this fight?
I liked the fight a lot, and I thought that it lent a certain feel of continuation. Like I talked about going back to Balmera. It's nice to see this callback, because it's more than just a callback and like a meta moment. Like, oh, remember this guy from season 1? It's also this sense of kind of permanence of the Galra, where like typically when you have like a monster of the week villain, they'll show up, they'll be beaten, and we'll never hear from them again. This kind of was like, okay, you left it, and here now there's consequences because of your action. Like had Voltron not been there and a Robeast like emerged without Voltron coming back, that could have been devastating for Balmera. So seeing kind of consequences beyond one episode. You know, people always joke about in Power Rangers, oh, the entire city's on fire, next episode it's fine. This episode kind of had that consequence and that permanence, and I really liked it. They could have executed it a bit better, but I really enjoyed it.
I think you always say that. I don't think other people are watching the Power Rangers to say that, but
well, I mean, think about it. 90% of Angel Grove is the abandoned warehouse district.
I think you always say that. Okay, anyway, yeah.
I really agree with like the permanence thing. That's something I remember from last season. In fact, at the Balmera planet, how we revisited it because we had these consequences, and it's not just let's go to a new planet every week.
Yeah, this is definitely like our return location here is the most notable planet from season 1. And I think it was a little bit of a waste of a return. We didn't really do anything, but it was nice to see it. And bringing back the Robeast is good. I guess this was our most powerful one from last season, so that's kind of cool. Like definitely remember the fight scene with it. Yeah, I don't know how much so I think the other major thing about this is that we're fighting this thing in space. Like I think this is I don't remember every one of our past Robeast fights, but I feel like this is our first like we've had space battles with like Zarkon, but this is like
we had the very previous Robeast was the one who sucked in crystals and beamed him right out. That was in space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I know we had one Robeast fight this season before this, and I don't remember a lot of it, but yeah, I thought this was much more of like a grand scale than our typical ones, and I don't know, I thought it really worked for me.
For sure.
Yeah, like everything here. Let's just I don't know how much analysis I have, but like the colors of all the paladins in space with like the use of the lions, because like they didn't have all the lions, they have to get the lions, and it's like, oh, we can't form Voltron. So this is our first forming of Voltron, I feel like, in forever too. So that I think
it's been a little bit.
sometimes I feel like the forming of Voltron is just ripe for a Crossroads of Destiny moment. You know, like, oh, form Voltron,
yeah.
Actually not, we're gonna die.
I agree, and they kind of like say that this episode, like we can't do it because it'll attack us when we're taking the minute-long reused animation to do it. Did think they changed the animation this season, right? With the,
really, I don't think they did. Not one bit.
It seemed different to me this episode, but I don't know. In general, I really need them to stop reusing the animation for this. Like the show, it's. I
mean, I've seen different variations, but I haven't seen any variation this season. I did not see it last season, so I don't know.
I thought this episode had variation. I don't know though. I'm definitely not the the Voltron forming animation expert, but
it's such a staple of the genre, though. I mean, if you don't like reused animation, tokusatsu and mech anime is just not the genre for you. I mean, I'd love to see them kind of break that mold, but the creators really seem to have a love for the original, and so I don't see such a classic staple of the genre going away, which, I mean, it sucks, but it is iconic. It is such a key, trope in the genre. You almost have to have it at this point.
It feels very Voltron. I don't think I would classify this show as a mech anime. Like, I think that this is, for almost everything except a few things that they feel the need to hold on to, this is just, like a normal, this is like the next version of Korra combined with remnants of, of this, of mech anime space stuff, sci-fi, like.
But they want it to be a mech anime.
I definitely think they want it to, and I think that's a mistake. I don't think it's.
Why is it a mistake?
Well, it's not a mistake to like have giant mech fights. That's cool, but to for not much reason other than nostalgia or upholding to genre conventions to have certain elements, I think is illogical. They should pick and choose based on what they think is right for this show. It's its own thing.
Personally, I love genre and the elements that become associated with genre, and I think that sticking with the norm was honestly a bolder move because, like you said, so many people are expecting Korra and, radical reinvention of animation. They're choosing to stick to the roots of the show, and I think that's honestly a bolder option.
I guess that is less expected. I can agree with that. I don't think it's working. We'll get to this after the finale. But I don't think this season has been better than last season. I don't think that they're necessarily headed in. They're definitely not fulfilling all their potential that we see from this gorgeous animation. So, to me, it's a pretty clear-cut case of let's change some things up. I don't think that the transformation sequence is at all the problem about anything. It's just annoying. But I don't really feel that passionately about it. Also, we haven't transformed the Voltron that much, so I hadn't seen it in a while, to be honest. I did kind of, transitioning. I did, actively want to see Voltron for the first time in a while. We'd seen a lot of Voltron in season 1 and the beginning of season 2. And I was like, okay, I'm up for seeing Voltron here. And it was pretty epic, sticking the sword into it. Not much of the most of the action was centered around the 5, paladins. But I think that the 5 lions, but I think that the last sequence with the defeating of the beast once to form Voltron, I thought was really good.
One little nitpick I have with this sequence, I know I said that this episode has great science, and it is coming up, but in this scene in particular, not so much. It's the point where Hunk's lion starts falling into the Balmarian atmosphere, and it looks like the show writer or the storyboard artist believe that gravity turns off after you reach a certain altitude, and so he lost power and fell below that altitude, starts falling, and so Shiro picks him up and lifts him back up, and then he's fine. Not really how orbit works. It needs quite a bit of horizontal velocity to maintain orbit, and they really just showed him being lifted straight up. Also, his progress towards the castle stopped as soon as Shiro let him go, which in space would not happen. He would have maintained his velocity. Anyways, there you go.
There you go. Part 1. Part 2 coming up.
Part 1.
Any other comments on the stuff with any of the fight sequence stuff? It was the majority of the episode, so I know we're leaving stuff out.
Yeah.
I think does Hunk almost die, or is that next episode? I don't even remember.
That's this episode. But on skimming through, I was like, whoa, that fight scene took up a crazy amount of this episode. I thought it was a smaller portion, but misremembering.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I think it really overall really worked. Yeah, I think that there's some weak stuff surrounding it, but I mean, nothing super stood out to me. Like, I don't think this was a return of the Gladiator from season 1 fight sequence. Like, I don't know. That's something that, another thing, overall season thing, like, before these 2 episodes, like, how many fight scenes had we had this season? Like, especially notable ones. I feel like this was maybe our most
Zarkon Shiro fight scene in the Mindscape. I thought was pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, that wasn't a traditional one, but I do agree that was one of the more notable ones. But I think that 11 for me probably is number 1 now for the season. Jeff, thoughts on that?
Yeah, number 1, followed close by, not too close, but fairly close by the first Robeast from this season, the little sucky Inuyari guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't terribly like well choreographed like this one was. It was just amazing animation and sound design.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I think that the fact that this is our first Robeast since the last one, and this is the best fight scene since this one, I think says a lot about how we haven't had kind of these major action sequences.
Yeah. One little note I just remembered. I was wondering, last couple of episodes, why did we split off with our lions but only bring 2 of them? Like, why didn't we send all the lions out? It seems like that was done purely as a plot device for this episode. Like, one of the main plot points was, we gotta get our pilots back to the castle so they can retrieve their lions. Oh no, how are we gonna do that? Where if they had just done the sensible thing and left with all their lions in the first place, we wouldn't have this problem.
But you would have also had to get 3 lions into a Galra prison.
Oh, you can have some of them hang back.
Yeah. I wonder if that was thought ahead, like you said, for this episode, or whether they just said, like, it'd be easier to prison break with 1 lion, and you wouldn't have to, like, hide the lions from the giant space whale. You'd only have to, like, plant 1 of them on it. I do think those missions are slightly easier with, because they're both kind of stealth things with only 1 line, but the getaway is, like, harder and it's a lot more risky anyway. Yeah. Debatable tactics from Kuren and Alura there.
Yes.
And Shiro, I guess. I don't know. Is Shiro making decisions? I guess he is. Yeah. Not a lot of Shiro lately. I think, plot narrative structures tell me next episode will be a big Shiro episode, considering we haven't really seen him. Anyway. So other stuff this episode, like we mentioned earlier, was like the, random weird existential moment at the end. I think it's very notable that they've been treating this, like, end of season arc as a end of an era type thing. And they kind of been consistently doing that for a few episodes now. And here they're like, oh, remember that time that we did this and this, and they kind of said a bunch of not notable things. But, it's like, really? That's what we're highlighting here looking back? It was a little funny though.
Seems like they were hanging a lantern on it. Like, just on purposeful being not too
big. Lampshading on this type of scene, or like, their experiences. Yeah.
I think it also showed, like, for the most part, they're kids. Like, they're teenagers. Shiro's the oldest, but, like, Pidge is only 14. Hunk and Lance are somewhere near that. Keith might be a little bit older, but for the most part, they're teenagers. And so I think showing that, for the most part, like, the teenage guys remembering the stupid cafeteria pranks, I thought that was a very humanizing moment.
Yeah. I agree. That's nice. I think this moment in general for me really worked. The most notable shots where we had a shot of the back of them, like I've said this before this podcast, with like a lens flare, and I thought it was gorgeous. And then we had a shot from the front and they're posing and it was gorgeous. And then we had close-ups of each of their faces, which we had never done on the show before. And, again, gorgeous, really notable, kind of a powerful moment, at the very least in terms of the animation and stuff. And I also do think the narrative worked enough here. I'm a fan of the stuff at the end of the episode for sure. Thoughts? Agree?
A bit melodramatic for me, but it was well orchestrated.
Definitely seems a little bit random, but I can understand that. But it was good. So we haven't even talked about the fact that I guess this is an Alura episode, because the first 5-6 minutes are her having her time in the spotlight. This is the first time that she I think does anything this season in terms of like stepping off the ship, and she goes to retrieve the crystal from Balmira, which really involves her holding her hands up to it and not really doing much else. So, and
then they skip over the most important part, which was get that huge crystal into the ship when they have no technology.
the most important logical inconsistency, yes.
Right. It's like, we done it. Good. Which is like not something you would say when you had just done it, because she just saw you do it.
at the end, Grandma's like, we put it on the ship for you, Prince.
Sure. You weren't watching her.
Really? You did that, Grandma? You did? Like, how did you do that? Yeah, I agree. Where did we put it, too? That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think in general it's nice seeing the Balmerans. I think there's some wide shots of the Balmeran planet which were super gorgeous. I thought the crystal stuff. They had some shots of when Alura was interacting with the crystal, which they did a nice like color fade on, which I really liked.
I liked how they when she asked, "Say, I need a big crystal," they're like battleship or like battle class size, as in like they remember back in the days when they used to be a strong supplier of these things. They have all these classifications. It's kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. That was a nice callback to remind us, like, yeah, these people, a few months ago were just like slaves for like harvesting crystals, and now that so that's kind of what their mind reverts to type thing. That was nice subtle work from Chen. I agree. I like seeing Shay again, as we mentioned. Shay's great. Probably my favorite, non-main character. Slav, I think, is competing for that now, but Slav, we'll talk about Slav in a minute. But yeah, seeing Shay great. Let's get Shay and Hunk back together. Like, I think that's she's the one. That's she's down for it. That's the one ship we can all agree on. Just the Shay Hunk. Probably not. That's probably not an accurate statement. I feel like people will want to ship Hunk with someone else, but whatever. Any other comments on Allure getting the crystal?
Not really. I mean, aside from her getting the crystal, she had all this existential stuff with Karan, like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, or I did not really care for any of that.
Yeah, so she was like having some doubts. She mentioned her father, I think, for the first time this season.
It's like she brought up these doubts and then addressed immediately, so there's no build-up or payoff.
Yeah, no, it wasn't handled well. I appreciate them doing that because we've done none of that with Alura so far. Like, our main plotline with Alura up to this episode is like that she's a racist now, and like having some sort of like sad stuff with her is good. Mentioning her father, that was a blatant thing for me this season. Is like her father was like practically her main emotional motivation last season. We haven't heard about him at all this season, so now we just very needed to have this stuff happening with Alura. But yeah, it is fast and weirdly done here.
It's like when Karan at the very end, when they're actually on the techno planet, can't remember their name, but he's like, "Princess, I have something to tell you," and then I'm like, "Oh, is this going to be something cool?" And then no, it's not.
Techno music planet?
No, techno planet. I can't remember what their name is.
I don't know if we get a name for it, but it's the
we do have one. It starts with an I. I don't know.
It's the Okari people.
Oh, Okari, that's it.
Yeah, I don't.
Planet Skrill X.
Skrill X. Yeah, I don't think the Okari is the name of the planet though. So
no, I forget. Yeah, it doesn't have a name.
Yeah. So, Corin meanwhile was preparing the teledove on Okari, which I think is weird that they're our main ally from this season, considering we'd seen them one episode.
Right, and they still don't do anything except provide a backdrop for making this.
Yeah, we never even see them do anything, right? Like, presumably they made this thing, but we don't even see them this episode. The people, we see them next episode, like one shot, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, that was my favorite episode of the season, and that's the planet I was most attached to. So I think it's a good choice, but it is a little weird. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on the teledove?
I have more thoughts on it next episode when it actually fires up.
Okay. Justin, thoughts on any of the Quran stuff?
I mean, I thought that this was just it was the background. It reminded me a lot of like Day of Black Sun kind of part 1, where, everyone's getting together and like every little one-shot thing we've ever seen comes back for the big fight. And I mean, it wasn't bad. I like the backdrops are gorgeous when they showed Kurt overseeing the teledove. Like, there was some beautiful, beautiful shots of that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if all we got was some really pretty shots and like indications that stuff was being done to defeat Zarkon, that's all they needed to do, and they did it well.
Yep. There you go with the Okari stuff. Meanwhile, Thrace is finally caught by Hagar, and it seemed like the I keep forgetting, the druids are. It seemed like they're kind of being incompetent, and they just needed to be instructed by Hagar to do this one little thing, this kind of obvious thing. And it's like, once we put like the slightest amount of thought into catching him, then yeah, okay.
So this is where my love of this episode's science comes in.
Okay.
So when the druid comes in to Hagar and says, "We found this encrypted chip or whatever in the outbound quantum entanglement chain," which is not technobabble. It is not a real thing either. It's impossible, but ties into this really cool concept, which is called quantum entanglement, where you have these two particles, which their velocity and momentum and angle and all that stuff is quantumly bound, as in they spin and move exactly the same way, which is really cool because, and also they do that no matter how far apart they are in space. So you can have them on opposite ends of the galaxy and they're still spinning and moving exactly the same way. Now you'd think that this would be prime for a Fashion-like communications mechanism, which is what they've done here in this show. They have chains of these quantum entangled particles that they use to communicate throughout their network, their multi-galactic network, which is the only way you could do it, really, without hyperdriving everywhere. So that's cool. Now, the reason it does not work is actually kind of cool, is because when you observe a quantum entangled particle, you can either know its velocity, like where it's what it's doing, or where it is. You can't know both. It's a Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So the way this works is when you observe the particle, you don't know what it's going to be, but let's say you observe it in the up position. You know that on the other end, they are also going to observe it in the up position. But the question is, when you observed it, you changed its state. So you really can't tell who observed it first. And what that means is that you really can't transmit information through this. Like, say you want to do a binary protocol, so you have 8 quantum entangled particle chip pairs set up, and you want to send, just a hex 0, 1. So you measure just the first particle and not the others. Well, the other end doesn't really know what you measured because they're all random anyways. Unfortunate. So that's why it does not work, but it is a very real physical thing that they're alluding to in the writing. I love it.
Nice. Justin, response.
Because science.
Yes, there you go. Summary.
Because science.
There's our Justin summary. Good. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. I find the show's relationship with like scientific fact stuff pretty interesting this season. On and off. We'll be tracking that here. Justin, thoughts on how this Thrace stuff was handled this episode?
I mean, it was a cool step in like the kind of spy story we have going on. I just like the druids, man. Those are some cool looking dudes. Like, I like the druid design. Like, that's cool. I like the druids, and that's all I have to say on the subject. The druids are cool. I
actually really agree with you. I think we have our first druid fighting this season. Like last season, the episode before the finale had a really big druid fight, I think, with Keith. Again, actually. And I loved that, and I love the druids fighting, and I think their design is great, and I really think they've underused them this season. So I'm hoping
they really remind me of the headless monks from Doctor Who. Because you can, like, where are their heads? They're gone.
Yeah, are they hoods? Are those hoods up, or like, I don't even, I can't even remember. I guess we see them close up, but I don't even remember off the top of my head. We have to study the druids here. Yes. I am a fan.
Although at the very end, when they say, and then Hagar's like, enough questions, I will get the truth out of you another way, or whatever. So this was like, I really wanted to know how he was able to lie to her earlier, because it sounded like she was going to use some truth-telling magic to find out if he was lying, and then he didn't, and they're like, ooh, how? So with next episode, we see that black magic ball that she was conjuring during her questioning is really just a like charged up magic strength thing. So it seems like she was just interrogating him and trying to threaten him, and then judging by his responses if he was trying to be evasive or not. So really just more psychological than magic.
Yeah, I think this episode supports the Jeff intimidation theory here. I would agree. Last thing this episode I want to point out is the use of Slav. We're wondering, like, is Slav just a major character now? He's on our team. And between this and next episode, we get a fair amount of Slav. We had Shiro yelling at Slav in the beginning, which was, I thought, not great, but I felt bad for Slav. And I'm Team Slav in the Shiro Slav fight. But more than that, it's like we talked a lot about how Slav representing OCD and mental illness, and how I think this episode they trend more towards the weird timelines type part of Slav than the like compulsions part of Slav. Like they do more like this timeline like type stuff of him, which I think is probably a good call.
I agree. I would have hoped that if it's a real thing, like he actually is, cued into these different timelines, I wish they would use that more than just have him be an engineer.
Yeah,
because that's really all he did this episode.
Yeah, he's just like the science guy in the crew, and he mentions keeps mentioning the timelines, and it seems less like a compulsion this episode and more just like a real superpower. Like, I thought that previously we were like, okay, this is just his way of expressing his nervousness about certain situations, like. But if this is a real thing, clearly we need to do more with it because it changes the entire show if it's a real thing. Right. But yeah, we didn't get your take on Slav, Justin. What are your thoughts on him?
I like Slav. I didn't think of the OCD thing at all because I'm so used to like science fiction. My initial theory was that he either was part of some experiment or worked on something that like he was so involved in working with like alternate timelines and alternate realities and different dimensions and possibly some kind of experimentation from the Galra that like he's now like he can't process just one reality. Like he's stuck thinking of these different realities like that. It's because of kind of what the Galra did to him, plus maybe his own research that they then exploited. I thought it was like less about him and maybe like he can't see every reality, but his mind thinks in that way.
Right. So explaining the realities thing, you're saying like he was once involved with like this like so immersed in his like different timelines research that he's just still kind of in that mindset type thing.
Like we don't know how long the Galra, because I mean we saw in episode 10 the helmet or whatever they were using. We don't know how long the Galra had him and what they did. My theory is he was just a researcher on parallel universes, and then the Galra tried to exploit that, and that led to kind of what we see now.
Nice. Yeah, no matter what, he's definitely tortured to a certain extent, like we saw in the last episode, but I do like this like research backstory, this headcanon for Slav. Thumbs up. Yeah, let's work on our Slav fan fiction. Yeah, let's get that going. I don't know why I randomly thought of this, but Slav going to be a interesting player in the eventual Voltron Survivor season, Justin.
Oh no!
Yeah, how would Slav fare on the island? Anyway, so yeah, that's all I get for Stayin' Alive. I think that we kind of said our overall thoughts in the beginning. So yeah, I'm big. I think this is probably a top 3 episode for me, but we'll see. So let's get on to last comments on Stayin' Alive. No, good. Yeah, why is it called that? That's my comment.
Because the Bee Gees.
Yeah, why is it not Staying Alive, and also why is it called that episode at all? I don't know. Let's talk episode 12, Best Laid Plans, which would imply that it would not succeed because best laid plans, whatever the expression is, fail or something, like whatever the
laid to waste.
Yeah. But everything kind of just goes great this episode. That's I assume things will complicate in our finale, but kind of just everything works here. We have a lot here. We have just everything from the start of the plan to luring Zarkon to Keith boarding the ship to eventually wormholing. So, thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
Still not a fan of how they're using their various people. Like we have Slav, who's just the engineer. Also, he is doing a gravity generator thing. It would have been really great if they would have tied him back to the Blade of Malmora outpost. Like, oh, this guy named Slav, designed our gravity generator. Let's go free him so we can make a bigger one. And as far as the Blade of Malmora go at all, we have these 2 operatives on the castle, but aside from that, they're really not doing anything. So I wish they would have done more with that. Yeah, the space fighting was fun. Not quite as fun as last episode, but I'm just really excited to see how this all ties up because we get to see Zarkon's cool armor.
Oh yeah, Zarkon's cool armor. We'll speculate on that. Overall, enjoyed it though.
Overall, enjoyed it.
Okay, Justin, thoughts on Best Laid Plans?
My two takeaways from this episode are Zarkon and Hagar are turning into Megatron and Starscream very, very quickly, and I have a feeling that soon we will see Zarkon killed and Hagar take over, or at least Zarkon out of commission temporarily. That's just speculation on my part, no idea, but I like what they're doing. We don't see this trope enough, I think, of the main villain becoming so just power hungry that the second in command takes over. I enjoy that trope very much. And then my other thing was Keith plus Alura equals question mark? Because that hug was just weird. That was a weird...
I called it. I'm all over this.
Yeah.
And also, I'm now thinking Keith is going to die, isn't he? And Alura's going to spend season 3 being like... Because I still think Alura's going to become the Red Paladin. She's going to be like, I have to... live up to Keith's potential because I never thought Alura could be good, and he was, and he sacrificed himself for me, and now I have to save the day. And I mean, I don't want it. I think they could do it well. I also think they could do it poorly. Let's just avoid it.
Okay, yeah. So we'll have Death Watch at the end for sure. That's always my favorite pre-finale activity. We've been doing that with Ruby. Death Watch 2K17. Last podcast I laid forth the Hagar is the true villain theory. So and I was very excited by that prospect that some Zarkon would either die or start to become good somehow, or like some sort of ally, and Hagar would be our true villain, which I was very excited about. And then she it seemed like she died this episode, and I was very upset. And then she came back and is more angry than ever, so I'm very excited for that. Like, that's my number one hope going into the finale is Hagar like power crazy, like doing awesome things, maybe takes over Zarkon as the true villain. Like that, I guess the use of Hagar, I was ready to be like, I hated that they killed Hagar, what a waste. And then probably my favorite aspect of this episode is what they did with her here. Very excited.
I'm predicting something along the lines of what they did with Black Beetle in season 2 finale of Young Justice. If you're familiar,
I haven't seen it yet.
I don't particularly remember.
I'm not going to spoil it, but
yeah,
it's a similar thing.
Yeah. So we'll get into Hagar here. I think one of the more interesting things the show is doing. Overall, Best Laid Plans was pretty good. I think there's a lot of stuff happening. Like clearly Slav and the two Blade of Mummar agents are not utilized well. Like they're just standing there, those two, and they don't do anything. It was weird seeing that this episode structure. They lay out a plan, they do the plan. Unfortunately, Thrace has to die in the process, but that's it. He looked an awful lot. His facial structure looked an awful lot like Keith's father in the flashback. Wait, so what is the implication here? That Keith's father's a shapeshifter. Wait, that's what you went with? Not some Thrace is like some relative, or like he was that's probably more his plausible. Grandfather or something, like and because they could age differently. She's the shapeshifter. They should do something random like that, though. I would enjoy that. Yeah, and then existential Keith at the end. Yeah, also they really teased us Keith's death here. And then he didn't die. Hagar and Keith seemed like they're going to die. Keith doesn't die. Like, Keith goes on the suicide mission, then we know it's going to explode, and then he escapes. Would be weird to kill Keith after blatantly doing a misdirect on his death episode before. I've seen weirder, but that'd be a weird move. We'll discuss that. So, specifics, let's start off with the fact that they lay out this plan, and then at the end of the episode, they've wormholed Zarkon and the Paladins and their castle to this distant space wherever they are. The virus is in, the system's down, and they form Voltron ready to attack Zarkon's powerless virus-infested ship. Yay. And this worked out for them, but they did not deserve this win, and the reason is that Alura is an idiot as far as tactics go. Because she's like, oh, you sissies, you don't want to wait. We gotta go move now. That's why you're all behind. I'm like, chill. You can hold this thing in reserve and use it when you're ready, not when you have no idea if your operative's even there. Who cares if it takes another month or two to put someone on the inside? Because they don't even know how long the gravity generator is going to work to conceal this thing. They could at least run a test or two, right? But Jeff, it's the episode before the finale. It had to happen now.
Well, they can do a montage. I mean, come on.
I will say whenever characters, whenever you like blame Alura for that, writers clearly put Alura in this position for no reason. This is a constructed thing. Like, it's like, why did we end up with Alura espousing this idea? Right? Like, it's just something that happened this episode. So I don't, I guess we're going for the like spur of the moment type thing, like heroics, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that they all have seemed so smart going like in the past of this season. Why'd they have to throw it out the window now? I
don't understand why Alura is in charge of the Blade of Marmara here. Like, why do if they don't want to participate, then just don't participate. Like, seemingly
participate.
Yeah, they just stood there. To be fair, they did just stand there. I feel like the Blade of Marmara, a powerful organization, could have called this off. I guess we don't really know if they're powerful. They kind of seem not to be doing anything.
Well, I mean, because they couldn't have called it off because they didn't have anything to call off. They had their operative.
It's like they don't have a ship. All they did was had the idea to get Slav, I guess. Like
maybe they didn't even say that.
They didn't even say that was their idea. Presumably that was their idea, but who knows?
Right.
They've kind of been useless since they presented them as like this resistance group, but it seems like they're more just this small group that's mostly just been in hiding.
I'm really hoping they come out and enforce next episode, the very finale.
Oh, it'd be interesting is if Zarkon's defeated and Blade of Marmara has different ideas about what to do next. And it turns into their kind of the antagonist next season. It's like
a Kuvira.
A Kuvira and an end of World War II with Russia type thing,
See, I was going Korra, you were going like real world. I got really see, like, because you're always like Voltron has to be like Korra, so I'm like Kuvira, and you're like Russia.
Nope, come on, Justin. What are you in school for? Gotta learn.
Can we watch Italia next?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that'd be an interesting direction to go. Actually, I think the Zarkon like going down might be the favorite. Like next episode, like that might be. I don't know. We'll discuss that at the end for speculation. But yeah, where Zarkon seems not to be in a good position going into this. He has his armor, I guess. He's got going for him. So this giant space fight, very reminiscent of a Star Wars fight, I think, with the different droid ships blasting at the lions, flying around, shooting stuff, getting people places.
You skipped over the Keith Alura hug.
We'll get it's lower down on the outline. I'm going by importance, not
I see.
yeah.
I really thought we were getting a kiss, man. I didn't.
Okay, save it. What do you think about this giant space fight, Justin?
It's a giant space fight, Dylan. I loved it. It's a giant space fight.
Yes, that is what it is. I said that.
Fights.
Okay.
I love giants.
There were no giants.
Is one of my favorite movies.
There were no giants here. Nice
giant
try, though.
Space fight. It's great.
Okay, good analysis. Jeff, what did you think of the giant space fight?
Really, really good stuff. Especially, I'm looking right now at the part where Shiro's clearing a path for Keith through, but he's just like carving up this tunnel of doom and destruction. Love it, and it's really showcases the power of the Black Land because he holds off this entire fleet for minutes, and then until the rest of the lions show up and start throwing down. So it's really good.
With his mouth blade.
Yeah.
Jawblade.
Jawblade. Still looks kind of stupid. But,
yeah, it's a really goofy thing.
Still looks kind of stupid.
I would love it if they could actually have these lions be lions or like show their abilities that only come from being in the lion form factor. Because right now, a really awesome spaceship could do what he's doing. They don't have to be in the lion.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just doesn't need to be in his jaw. It's just a normal blade, like protruding from a thing. Like, I agree. It's interesting. I do think they animate stuff with it well, though. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So a lot of I don't know. There's the giant space fight. Not much discussion to be had, but I thought it was mostly successful. I do agree the Stayin' Alive space fight was better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would this be your second ranked fight of the season? It's hard to like say this is a fight because it's like a giant battle sequence.
Yeah,
over the course of like different things like happening.
Sort of like hack and slash. So I mean, I'd say this might be number 3 after the first release.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. Let's talk about this Keith plot. So, Thrace isn't coming. Abort. First of all, the plan was pretty flimsy if it relies on the guy who's probably going to be captured. You should have seen this coming, I think. That Thrace would not communicate with you now. But Keith volunteers to board the ship, and the Order of Malmora guy's like, yeah, sure. That solves all our qualms here.
Yep.
But Keith, brave Keith mission. I don't know, Justin. Any comments on this in terms of Keith's arc this season?
I thought it was. I was fine with Keith having to go on this mission. It's Keith. I mean, he's been doing stuff. He did a thing. Keith did a thing, and last season that was like non-existent. So, good Keith. Do a thing. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Just stay away from Alura. Like 5 feet barrier.
Save room for you, whatever. But yeah.
Save room for what? Quiznacks. I don't know.
yeah. What's our equivalent for quiz? I don't think that's how Quiznacks work. But
that's a curse word.
Yeah. Oh, Quiznacks. Yeah, we got that here. We had this. I guess this is like the Zuko solo mission, kind of in Avatar season 1. Back to our Justin mandated Avatar references. But I don't know. This type of plot usually isn't super sympathetic, but I think Keith was not. He was fine. Like I didn't hate Keith here. He was like,
if this is Zuko, then Southern Raiders would be the hug.
Are you comparing Keith Alura to a Zutara?
Yes, quite. Yes,
I think it is. Yeah, I agree in terms of my hatred for it. So there we can do that. It's obviously hate Zutara much more than
I don't know. Zutara's fine.
I mean,
gets out with
everything.
That nonsense, Justin. That is not an acceptable opinion on any From the Spirit World Lineage podcast. You can. I might have to bleep that out. That was like so profane. I don't know if I can deal with that.
Dylan, if you dare try to censor me for that.
Please apologize to everyone listening to this podcast, Justin, for your profane language.
Dylan, if you call me out on liking Zutara one more time, I will write Zutara fan fiction and link it all over the overly animated website.
That's not much of a punishment because you writing Zutara fan fiction would be kind of funny and a punishment in its own right, so I'll accept that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if I might have to go. It's too much. I might have to bleep that out. I don't know. So I don't even remember what we're talking about. So Keith boards the ship and, so what do we think of this thing where the druids, free Thrace in order to like set him up?
I guess that's what they did. Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of weird how they just walked out like, okay, bye.
They did this to learn what their plan was, but what did that end up doing for them, knowing that they're trying to shut off the system? 1, could they not have figured that out on their own? 2, what does that knowledge give them?
Right. Like,
yeah.
We caught you in the act. Now we know you're bad. Like, come on.
Right. Like you already, I don't think it's not like you need evidence to try him. Like, this is our Zarkon dictatorship. I don't think he cares.
I mean, we already established how dumb the druids are, so it's probably like their own idea. Like, Hagar was like, she told us to let him, go and retrieve it, so we'd figure out what he was up to. So we'll do it again, and she'll be really impressed with us, won't she?
Yeah, was that Hagar mandated, or was that just them being stupid? Like at first it just seems like they're being idiots and that they're not intentionally trying to do it, but then at the end they're like, "Ha! Now we know." And I'm like, okay, so yeah.
So now for dramatic tension, cool.
Yeah, didn't enjoy that plot. And then Thrace, Keith joins with Thrace. They have their bonding moments. They fight stuff off. I think is, pretty good action. And then Thrace blows everything up, and Keith escapes.
It's cool how these like big red wire like crystal things hanging on the wall are actually like super electrified, and when you throw a druid into it, they explode.
Seems not safe to be.
Well, that's not many people are throwing druids.
I think Zarkon needs to work on his safety protocols.
He needs to read the Evil Overlord's Handbook, is what.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? And can I have a copy?
Oh, I'd love it. It's so fun. It's an internet legend. Go Google it.
Nice. Yeah. Other than that, I thought this was good. But my highlight of this is when it explodes, and yeah, I think you think Hagar's gonna die, but she doesn't die. This was the most emotionally I reacted to this this episode. Not because I particularly care about Hagar, but just because within the structure of our narrative, she represents a lot of potential to shake things up, which I'm very invested in right now.
Right. If she had died, I would have been really mad. Like, come on. Development.
Because it's like Zarkon's clearly going in such a tropey, like blind direction here. And if it's for a purpose to do something interesting to next episode, then, that's cool. But, killing Hagar clearly would have been a bad move. But yeah, they played that pretty well, I think. I don't know how she, saves herself. There's not even a, Zuko barely perceptible, like fire barrier that if you break it down shot by shot, you see once the pirates blow them up, type thing.
Right.
Like we don't even see anything come up. But she's magic and maybe immortal. So
magic's gonna magic.
Yeah. Justin, thoughts on, this Hagar stuff?
I definitely think next season Hagar is our main antagonist. Like, they're setting it up.
We'll talk
really
about
excited.
it. Okay. Slav in this episode, Slav in the gravity generator. That was frustrating because what's the point of any of that? I don't know. He's like, yeah, the gravity generator's good. He was serious though the whole time. That was cool. Like he was determined and focused. He didn't, he wasn't silly.
Uh-huh.
The one important Slav line is where he said, there's now no reality where all of us survive.
Yes, that will be our Death Watch line. So
somebody dying.
Right.
Now, granted, if they say that somebody was Zarkon,
We'll see. Jeff, thoughts on... Yeah, we'll come back to that. Jeff, thoughts on the Teledove here?
Okay, so we know what a Teledove looks like and acts like because we fixed it on the castle, right? It's a cylindrical chamber where you bounce a laser off a lot of crystals and cool stuff happens. And then they throw all of that imagery away for this cool looking thing. And I'm like, could they please like, I don't know, they just used what we already knew, like make a connection so the audience knows, oh, I've seen this before. That's Teledove, right? So, I mean, if you remember those like spirographs back in the day, those little pencil drawing things, making those designs in a ring.
Yes.
Like, they could have used that, or like, bounce a laser off the edge of the ring to make some cool line design. Something just to call back to that concept would have been great. Although, I love the inside of the wormhole. It was great.
Cool. Yeah, I thought the Teledove was pretty underwhelming. It was just kind of a thing that descended on them very slowly.
And then notice, as it's descending, all those tiny little ships, like, the whole point of the Teledove is to isolate his ship from his fleet. Well, what good is that if the tiny ships get caught up in it as well? So they conveniently explode.
Yeah, I guess they turned the droids turned off from the system going down, but yeah.
Oh, that's another thing, and I hate that too. Like, come on, man, we're doing this whole Independence Day, shut off the main ship, everything else goes dead. Why? Yeah,
why would their technology be so dependent on? Why doesn't it have internal programming to take over? Like, it doesn't have a battery. Like,
right.
Do batteries not exist? Battery backup? Like,
and this was even like before the virus went in. Which, by the way, the virus did nothing.
Yeah. What is the? Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see next episode. But there seems to be no point so far for the virus.
Right. Just a word.
Because we blew up the system. That's not what like left them without power. The virus was not like doing that. So who knows what that will do. Maybe it can infect Zarkon's cool new armor. Maybe
I do want to know what the difference is between how the Teledove works and how Zarkon's ship gets around. Because they seem to operate on very different principles, and I'm wondering what the trade-offs are.
Zarkon uses dark magic.
Yeah, I don't know. No answers for you there. Okay, you've been asking for it. Let's discuss our big Keith Alura scene. Alura apologizes to Keith kind of out of nowhere, but I also thought it was kind of out of nowhere, her being like blatantly racist the rest of the season. So what can you do? And I mean, it's you understand where she's emotionally coming from, as she says here. Like we're constantly reminded, like, yeah, I killed all of her people. These people.
Need a flashback. We need flashback.
Yeah, we could have seen some more emotional anchoring there. Yeah. But then Alura hugs Keith and says, "Please come back to us."
So nice.
Were you into it, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Oh, I haven't shown you a picture I made up of those two earlier. Because when they embrace in space, it's very Katara-like.
It is. I know what you're talking about. The episode where they're like alone together, which that's Steven Universe episode, but you know my point. The thing with the pod and the group were bad for the group in that episode. I got some Keith Alura vibes from that episode too.
Yeah, sure. Justin, you were shipping it?
I don't want to ship it because Delaney has dragged me into arm legs so hard at this point that I don't want to ship it. But at the same time, I'm very easily hooked on whatever I'm presented. I am very much a sheep when it comes to narratives in media. I'm not one to resist the show creator. So, like, if they're gonna ship it, I'm gonna ship it. Like,
yeah, you sheeple. You sheeple. I don't know if this is we'll see if this is what they're doing. I mean, clearly this was like intended to be a minor thing, but like I don't want to ship Voltron. Oh, I see, with the Katara side glance. Yeah, I don't. I mean, Alura is very Katara-like in general, but let's not compare that to a catting scene, and I'm not up for that. That was Jeff showing the picture, but yeah, I'm really not. I could not give less of a crap about Alura and Keith. I also could give less of a crap about Alura and Shiro. I really hate both of them. Not the characters, the ships, but like I don't see any chemistry. I don't think either character's been characterized to a point where it's like.
I completely agree. Like it shouldn't happen yet. I'm just like, of all the pairings, I wouldn't, like, if they were going to put development into some pairing, well, let's do that and just see what happens.
I guess them tying this to a Alura Alura and Keith's characters has been fine. Like that's better than just randomly inserting it. Like the character moments with Keith finding out he's an alien and Alura reacting that badly. The big problem with the Keith and Alura, if you go in that route, is that you've kind of built up this excellent Lance and Keith dynamic last season that has been incredibly absent for this season. So Alura, pairing Alura with Keith just like rubs salt in the wounds of the fact that that's not being a thing. Which is like, what was the point of anything that happened last season? Like, it's not even if you don't ship it, they just haven't even been interacting.
Well, the thing is, as much as we talk about, how great Korra was and how great Korrasami is, not every relationship that happened in Korra was like Korrasami level great. Because, I mean, we hope they learn their lesson, but I mean, Korra Mako was just so rushed.
Well, yeah, sure.
You had some other relationships that just weren't that level, and not everything they do from here on out, I think, is going to be Korrasami. Because, I mean, Korrasami is one of those things that just took years of planning and set up, and we can't. You were saying like they shouldn't do it. Yeah, this is a bad idea. This isn't. I think we're still comparing this to Korra like too much almost. We're not probably gonna get the magic of Korrasami again, unfortunately. And I think there's gonna be some bad stuff along the way if we do get something like that. We're gonna get a Korra Mako kind of thing. We're gonna get a Janora, whatever the guy's name, who I forget. We're gonna get these rushed.
Yeah,
we're gonna get these rushed plots again.
I think these are largely different, like, independent circumstances in terms of the people making creative decisions on Voltron. The overlap would be Tim Hedrick and Josh Hamilton. Tim Hedrick is the head writer here. Mike was the head writer in Korra. Like, and Brian aren't involved. Joaquin and Lauren weren't making creative decisions in that level in Korra. I think it's largely independent events, is what I would say. I don't know if you're talking about in terms of like well-presented romance or in terms of queer representation. I think it is reasonable. I think it is reasonable to expect them to have like learned some lesson for the fact that having representation is important from Korra. Like, I don't think like it resets and they would want to do this. I guess I do think your point of like, they haven't, it's not like they're going in, it's not like this is a direct continuation and maybe they're going to struggle on their own to get to places is a fair point. But again, I think it's largely independent. Tim's running the show here with the writing, and Mike was running the show with Korra. Anyway, so let's end with our speculation. So here's my main candidates for Voltron Death Watch 2K17. We got three candidates. You got Keith, Alura, and Shiro. And I'll explain. Keith, because they kind of have this teasing this episode with like the don't come back, the please come back type thing, and they tease his death here. Alura, because she's very weak at the end, and we heard in an episode 11, they're like, you might not survive this. And then Shiro, because Shiro always can die, and I think they did that last season too. Like, didn't Shiro like almost die at the end of last season? I don't even remember.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's always a possibility. So, which one of the three will die or none, Jeff?
In order of probabilities, I would say Shiro and Keith are up there, and Alura, not so much, I think. I'm thinking of, like, just the arc of an episode with Alura already on the verge of death. To have her, like, deteriorate slowly and then die seems not really that satisfying.
Yeah, and Corin says she's fine, so...
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know.
Justin.
I think it's unlikely we're going to see Alura die. I think it's very likely we see Keith die, because what's left of his arc at this point is to find out kind of why he's part Galra, or how, and like he wants to find out where he came from. We can see that explored through the other paladins. Them wanting to find for Keith's sake, like to kind of like give that resolution. I could see that happening. Shiro, on the other hand, his arc directly involves him needing to be alive. His fight with Zarkon, his arm, all that stuff. We can't explore that through the other characters. We need Shiro alive for that. So I think it's very possible Keith will die, but also I think it's possible Zarkon will die, and we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, just for now, these three. Yeah, I don't think any of the three are dying. Alura is certainly not. I don't think Keith will, because... they already just teased his death here, and I don't know what purpose him dying serves. Either the Justin point of get to Alura in the Red Lion, I think, is something, but I'm not convinced they want to do that right now. Like they certainly didn't use her at all. Then again, they might want to course correct and fix that by doing that. I don't know.
Shiro is going to lose his other arm, just like
Slav will be so happy. Yes,
yes,
that'd be.
Yes, you could have two.
Yeah, you gotta have two, yeah.
The two robot arms.
Yeah, Shiro, I guess, by default, would be my pick for most likely to die, but I also don't think he's dying. I don't know what purpose that serves. Like, he hasn't been the focus of recent episodes, so who cares? Is what I'd say. I don't think any of them will. I would like for someone to, but not Alura. Shiro or Keith would be great. Let's
Bloodthirsty Dylan, 2K17.
Karan.
Yeah. Karan,
please, no.
I also don't...
point. That's why he's going to die.
Yeah, I think that it would be a possibility, but clearly the show would suffer without him. So
I mean, he's been wrapping up, being all supportive of.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you don't need him anymore. You can handle stuff on your own now. Just the show structure is such in need of his comedy, though. Like they don't really have a good replacement here. Slav, I guess, but it's a different type of thing. So what's okay? Last prediction: Zarkon and Hagar. What's happening with them next episode? Justin, you think Zarkon's dying? And
I think
Hagar is in charge?
I think Zarkon either dies or ends up disgraced and alone, and we get like rogue Zarkon in season 3 as like a third party that comes back eventually. But I think Hagar will definitely be head of the Galra Empire next season.
Would it even be as a Galra? Is Alura is Hagar Galra? Like
she has the glowy eyes and the purple skin.
Even if she's not, she would lead the Galra Empire, I think.
Okay, interesting. Jeff, what are your predictions?
Hagar is going to betray Zarkon in his moment of need. Although it was weird, like last episode, she showed quite a bit more deference to him than I thought she still had.
Yes.
She's like, "Oh, sire, my mistake. I spoke out of turn. But come on, pick it up."
Yeah, she defaulted back to that, but she was very angry after the blow up, though.
Yeah. So as far as what's going to happen to him, if he doesn't die, I don't see him really. I mean, he's so one dimensional. It would be interesting if they gave him some more to do to be this third party, but they would have to do quite a bit of work to establish that as credible.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the thing to do narratively with this arc is to have Zarkon go for the Black Lion and put Hagar in some sort of choice where she could either like Zarkon's in danger but going for the black line, and he can like get it if Alura like shoots someone. But if that happens, then she's like surrendering their ship or something. So it's like a choice between like their position strategically and Zarkon's like irrational need for the black lion, and she betrays him by choosing the right line for the Galran Empire type thing.
I just really hope she doesn't turn to like pure good. Please no.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Zarkon's more likely to turn. I don't think I don't know what they're going to do with Zarkon's just been so one-dimensional recently, and it has to be for a purpose to do something narratively interesting, hopefully next episode. And I definitely hope that involves Hagar and Power, because it's like a good 2-for-1. It's like a 3-for-1 with that's a magic term, but you get 3 things for the price of 1. It's you get one, you get a shake up in the overall narrative, which I think is needed. 2, you get Hagar in Power, which I think is cool potential, and 3, you get more prominent. You get more prominence of the druids, which is something we also want with Hagar and Power. So like I think it's only positives if. I guess you lose Zarkon being evil, which I think is good. Like Zarkon's pretty good, but I think that's outweighed by the potential benefits of shaking things up here. So I'm definitely hoping for that. So we will see what happens. My big prediction, though, is that not much changes. I guess I think the show is much less likely to shake things up than another show would. Maybe I'll be wrong, but we will see right now, because we're about to go watch and the podcast on that one. So,
well, here's my convoluted scenario. Here's what's going to happen: is Shiro is going to be put in a position where he needs to free Alura, who's being held captive by Zarkon, and he's like, "Hey, Zarkon, I'll give you the Black Lion. Just let Alura go and let everyone else go, and leave this place and let us take your ship and destroy it." And he's like, "Sweet." And Hagar's like, "No, I'm not cool with that." And she kills him and everything else, and she goes evil.
Yeah, some sort of Hagar. It's like Hagar's not going to betray him unless it's for a specific strategic purpose type thing. Like he has to be acting illogically, I think. So, I agree. Something like that's very possible. So we will see. Come back for our finale and season-long discussion coming up next, overlyanimated.com. So if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe there. If you're watching on podcast feed, subscribe there for all our Voltron coverage. Thank you very much you can consider supporting us at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Jade, aka Jewel. Thank you very much, Jade, for all your continued support. You can learn more about the benefits of becoming a patron at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Okay, let's get to the finale. I'll be, in terms of when you guys hear that, I'll be putting that up pretty soon after this the next day. So, last comments.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, thank you very much for listening, guys, and we will see you then. Bye.
Bye.